Hello and welcome to the Rob Burgess Show. I am, of course, your host, Rob Burgess. On this, our 106th episode, our returning guest is Jonathan Fowler. You first heard Jonathan Fowler on episodes 2, 10, 20, 21, 29, 30, 31, 32, 34, 35, 43, 48, 51, 56, 64, 74, 83, 92, 102, 103, 104, 105, and episode 82, also featuring fellow regular guest Ash Burgess of the podcast. Jonathan graduated with a BA in History from Indiana University in 2006. He's an unabashed left-wing political junkie. He has lived and worked in South Korea for over 10 years, trying to help the citizens of that great nation hopefully talk pretty one day. And now, on to the show.
Hey, what's up?
Hey. What's going on?
I don't know, not a whole lot. I had a meeting with some students tonight.
How'd the meeting go?
Oh, we drank a lot.
That's pretty typical for Korea, though, right?
Yeah, perhaps part of the culture.
Mixing work with drinking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know. I gotta be honest, I'm pretty drunk here.
That's no problem.
I've been reading a book lately from my book club. I started reading a book about Korean, like living in Korea, I guess.
How's it going?
About 80 pages in. It's interesting. It's a novel, but it's based on a guy's experiences in Korea from 1997.
Was there a movie we saw about that?
I don't think so.
I remember a movie you and I watched where a guy went to another country to like teach English or something, and they got him a cake on the 4th of July.
Really?
Yeah. I don't remember the name of the movie.
I'm trying to think what this movie would have been. That sounds unfamiliar.
Anyway.
I had a special meeting today for some of the students.
Got a special meeting?
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like the last Friday where we're going to have class of the month because we have class every other Friday. What about The Wire?
Yeah, what about it?
How far in are you?
2 and some change episodes in.
That's all? You mentioned you were 2 episodes in several days ago on Facebook.
Yeah. Well. I don't have as much time to watch The Wire as I used to in my life.
Oh, should have watched it sooner.
Probably.
Yeah. So, which characters are you gravitating towards?
They're all compelling. They're all well-rounded characters. I'm enjoying all of them. I can't really think of anybody I don't want to know more about, so. I like Bunk. He seems to have a good sense of humor.
Yeah, but he drinks too much.
They all seem to drink too much, though.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta reach a kind of a headway in that material.
So you're not impressed with my progress?
You said you tried to watch it again before, and you only made it like several episodes in or something, right?
Yeah, I've seen further than where I'm at now. In the past.
I don't get it.
Just didn't grab me.
Normally a very gripping show. I don't know, I gotta say, when I was back there that one time and I tried to watch, was it Friday Night Lights, right? I had some difficulty with the first episode just because there was, I felt like, I still feel like the first episode of Friday Night Lights was really fast. and a lot of lingo and jargon and stuff. It didn't lend itself to like easy viewing, but like after you got past the first couple episodes of Friday Night Lights, it became easier to understand what was going on. I think it's similar to some degree with this show.
With The Wire, you mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I get the concepts they're going for, though. I mean, it's not a world I'm familiar with specifically, but I understand the general concept of, like, you know, the drug game is probably a lot like franchising to McDonald's, and people on the bottom aren't, you know, doing so well, but the people at the top are, and they're doing the least amount of work. So. Yeah, but I just think, like, 2 episodes in, though, you can't say you understand The Wire at 2 episodes. I've read, what was that guy? His writing before, David Simon. I think I understand his worldview. He was a beat reporter for the Baltimore Sun. He also wrote a book that was the basis for Homicide: Life on the Street.
Yeah, I haven't read his writing, but I've watched all of his shows and stuff, except for, like, I haven't gone all the way through Treme.
Yeah, I've seen a little bit of Treme.
Yeah, I watched, like, the first season, but it was like a slow, really, really slow kind of thing.
Yeah, I didn't finish it, but supposedly that John Goodman character is based on a real guy.
Did he really die?
I believe so, yeah.
I don't know. You gotta get more than 2 episodes into the show.
What do you think I'm missing?
About 97 episodes.
There's not that many, is there? There's only 5 seasons, right?
Yeah, okay, 48 episodes.
Yeah, that's not so bad.
No, I'm saying, though, like the first episode or 2 are almost kind of throwaways. Like, when I first got to the first 2 episodes, that's kind of like, you know, okay, it's a little slow and boring, but I like the theme song and stuff.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think you got to get deeper into it. Like, I'm worried that you're not going to get deeper into it right now. But, like, I don't know. Yeah, it's. I would say it's in the top 2 with The Sopranos, and much better than Breaking Bad. I think I saw on Facebook your mom said, "Is it as good as Breaking Bad?" And I'm thinking, oh, it's much better.
Well, I didn't say it was much better.
Huh?
I didn't say it was much better.
No, I was thinking it was much better. You haven't watched more than the first couple episodes, though.
Okay.
Or how many did you watch before?
I watched most of the first season before, and I was not gripped by it.
It's really weird.
Yeah, I don't know. No accounting for taste, I guess.
But you didn't see the kind of the DMX versus Jay-Z dichotomy between Barksdale and Stringer Bell?
Sure.
That didn't grip you?
I've seen Shakespeare. I know what's good.
Oh. This is different than Shakespeare. This is DMX versus Jay-Z.
You don't think that's Shakespearean?
That was part of the plot of Grand Theft Auto 4. I don't know.
I'm not willing to give it a final grade or whatever. I'm just saying I continue to be underwhelmed by it compared to what everyone else wants me to feel for it. This is why I'm scared to watch it, because everyone's expecting me to have this magical experience, and maybe it'll happen, but it also might not happen.
Well, you haven't even gotten to the 2nd season yet, have you?
No, not yet. I will.
The second season is about union workers on the stevedores. I don't know. The 2nd season, honestly, a lot of people don't like as well as the 1st and 3rd seasons. But
yeah, I've heard that complaint before.
but it's a unique season that has its own appeals. And the character, one of the main characters, goes on to act in Generation Kill, I think, or whatever it was called.
Yeah, I did not see that.
I was totally shocked when I saw that was the same actor, because he plays like totally different characters. Anyways, I don't know. Yeah, I had a thing with my student and some of my coworker students tonight. Yeah, we drank a lot. I ended up dropping my phone when I got home, and I cracked the screen, so I've got to replace my phone screen tomorrow.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Yeah, not a major crack, but still. Out of character.
Was the case off?
No, the case was on. I dropped it hard, though, I guess. I think, like, it was attached to a portable charger, and the charger cord got caught on the door somehow, and it like, smacked it down harder than expected.
Well, we can get that repaired.
Yeah, I think I can. If the place is open tomorrow, I'll do it tomorrow, but if not, I'll do it whenever I can find a moment to do it, though.
Right.
Yeah.
But what Ash and I have been watching is this Cobra Kai show on YouTube Red. They just finished with the first season, and they've, I believe, been picked up for a second at this point. So,
yeah, I haven't seen that show.
Did you see the original Karate Kid movie?
Yeah, probably like in elementary school.
Yeah, I mean, it came out in 1984, so. But, yeah, it's like 30 years later for all the characters that are still alive from that movie.
Was Cobra Kai the bad guy?
Yes. That was the bad dojo.
Is he still a bully like 30 years later or whatever?
Yeah, he's kind of a loser, though. And Daniel LaRusso has his own like car dealership and stuff, so he's very successful now. And he uses karate in his ads.
Oh, I don't know.
It's a good show. It's not a total nostalgia trip either. Like, Ash had no nostalgia for it because she didn't watch the movies growing up, but she still enjoyed the like plots that they like weaved in with the kids of the young people from the original movie. Like the LaRusso children have their own storylines, and there's other younger people. So
I watched the original movies, but I can't remember when I watched them, and I don't remember the story really. Didn't they remake those movies recently with like Will Smith or something?
Will Smith executive produced a remake starring Jaden Smith and Jackie Chan.
Okay, they show up in this TV show then?
No. I think this basically assumes that neither the remake nor the sequels existed. I believe it just like works in the world of this is the first movie, and then 30 years later to the same people.
Been a lot of that going on lately with Roseanne Barr and
oh my gosh, yeah.
Twin Peaks.
Yeah, I haven't watched the Twin Peaks. You'll be shocked to learn. I watched a little bit of Roseanne. It was terrible.
I haven't watched any Roseanne.
So bad. And I really didn't like the original anyway. And I think that Roseanne is just off a rocker, and I always have. The only redeeming qualities are like the side character people. I like John Goodman. The daughter, whatever her name is, the sister. She's fun in spaces, But the sister is supposed to be like the resistance woman who voted for Jill Stein. And then the daughter, whatever her name was, she's like also supposed to be a liberal, I think. But then the Roseanne Barr character and also the whatever her husband are supposed to be like Trump supporters. So
yeah, I don't know. I remember the daughter and sister a little bit from the 90s, but we didn't really have a TV back then, so I didn't get to see much of it. But I'm vaguely aware of their characters, so. But I haven't watched the reboot.
Yeah.
I don't think Roseanne deserves any support.
No.
If you've gone off the anti-vaxxer tip and all that shit, no, you're not getting my money. You're not getting my Nielsen views.
Yeah, she's one of these people that never really seems to stick, though. Like, no matter how many crazy things she supports, somehow. I mean, it's because she's successful, I think. Like, it's its own momentum now.
I think we should get Rosie O'Donnell to come back and play the Roseanne character. I think that'd be more.
Do you think that would really, like, make Trump mad?
Yeah.
That really would. I guess when old Spicy was played by Melissa McCarthy, he considered firing Sean Spicer because he had been portrayed as a woman.
Oh,
or by a woman.
Did you see the season finale of Saturday Night Live the other day?
No, I saw the Childish Gambino video. Is that what you're talking about?
I don't know. What's it called? This Is Us?
This Is America?
Oh, I thought it was a TV show.
This Is Us is a TV show, but I think you're thinking of a song by Childish Gambino with an accompanying music video called This Is America.
Oh, yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, what do you think of that?
I'll have to go back through and get the lyrics and stuff, but it seemed like it was kind of a little bit too. I don't know. I mean, what am I supposed to think? He's going through these different situations, shooting people. I don't know. Is it supposed to be a school shooting thing? I mean, I don't know. I'll have to rewatch it. Maybe I'm out of touch or whatever. But
I thought it was more like the Charleston church shooting.
Okay, but the main character of the video is black.
Yeah.
So.
But he shoots up a black choir.
Okay. Is this like a Chicago thing? Is this like a Republican talking point?
I don't know. I don't think he meant it that way.
Okay, because black on black violence in Chicago is a huge thing that Republicans always harp on. So,
True.
I mean, I may have missed,
But most of those guns come from Indiana, which has very lax gun laws. So.
But that didn't come across in the video, though.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know how else he was supposed to communicate that message. I mean, he is black, so.
Yeah, well, I mean, if his message is about the Charleston shooting, I don't think he has to be the main character of the video. Then, I don't know. I need to rewatch it. I watched it once or twice, trying to figure out what it's about and stuff. And
yeah, I watched it twice. First time was just for the shock value of when the first guy he shoots. That immediately lets you know it's kind of like Clockwork Orange, like there's some ultra violence in store. And then
sort of, but
yeah, but he's also he's dancing in a very exaggerated way. That's supposed to be a comment on trucking and driving. So I don't know. It's got a lot of layers to it. Not necessarily a fun video to watch. It's deeply unsettling, actually.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out again. I need to go through the lyrics of the song exactly, but I don't know. I mean, we just had another school shooting in America, so.
We did. If only we wouldn't have had so many doors, could have prevented this.
We need to get down to 1 or 2 entrances into our schools. You have the necessary exits for fire, of course, but we have to funnel our students into our schools so we can put eyes on them. This young man showed up with a trench coat, which he wore often, I've learned, and he had a gun under it. And he came through one of the entrances undetected. You know, the Israelis have 3 focus on security, and that is to deter, detect, and deny. And we have too many people who can get onto our school campuses with guns who are not deterred and are not detected. So I'm proposing that our new school designs are built that way, and we retrofit our schools. The average age of schools in America, Jake, are 44 years old. Schools weren't designed and built, 40 and 50 years ago to deal with today's issues. So we can harden those targets and make it more difficult.
Yeah, I think the rocks falling in the ocean are causing global warming.
Right.
And the gentleman from Alabama, Mr. Brooks, is recognized for his questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ever since human beings have been on the planet, sea levels have risen relative to ground levels. Why is that? Any of you can opine as you wish.
Well, I'd be happy to address that. Sea levels over the last 3 million years have gone up and down in line with the cycles of ice ages and interglacials, and I can expound on the science of that if you wish. The last 100-year increase in sea level rise, as I mentioned earlier, has clearly been attributed to human activities, greenhouse
that
gas
wasn't
emissions.
my question. I appreciate you wanting to expound on that.
Yeah.
My statement is that since human beings have been on Earth, sea levels have risen. What are the factors that have caused it to rise?
Well, as I said, sea levels have gone up and down.
I'm talking net, not fluctuations. Let's assume for a moment that what you're talking about has some kind of factual, rational basis for it, that ice has melted. Are there other factors?
No, look,
No, there are not other factors?
Looking at
Yes
the
or
history of sea level rise is very informative. And one of the things we see, for example, is that the last time the global temperature was as high as it is.
Hey, Dr. Duffy, you're not answering my question again.
Okay.
I'm conceding for the moment that there has been ice meltage compared to what it was 3 million years ago, whatever, since that's the time frame you use. I'm asking another question, that is, what other factors have caused the sea levels to rise relative to dry land? Does anyone else have any? I mean, in particular, Dr. Duffy, you said that they're going to be massive. Isn't that the word that you use in your remarks? Massive sea level rises. Don't you think if you're going to have that kind of statement, you ought to have some idea as to what all the causes of sea level rises have been?
Sure.
Since human beings have been on Earth?
If you're referring to ground subsidence, that is a factor in some regions.
Okay. What else? That's one. So now we've gotten 2. What else?
Ground subsidence is not going to cause the levels of sea level rise that arouse my concern.
I'm just asking for factors. I was not asking for your prioritizing of one over the other. But you've mentioned 2. What else?
Those are all that I know of.
What about erosion? Every single year that we're on Earth, you have huge tons of silt deposited by the Mississippi River, by the Amazon River, by the Nile, by every major river system, and for that matter, creek, all the way down to the smallest systems. And every time you have that soil or rock or whatever it is that is deposited into the seas, that forces the sea levels to rise because now you've got less space in those oceans because the bottom is moving up. What about
I'm pretty sure
the
that
White
that's
Cliffs of Dover, California, where you have the waves crashing against the shorelines, and time again you're having the cliffs crash into the sea. All of that displaces water, which forces it to rise, does it not?
I'm pretty sure that on human timescales, those are minuscule effects.
Okay, well, let's talk about ice for a moment. Where is most of the ice located on planet Earth?
Antarctic ice sheet.
And how much?
I don't have the number in my head.
Do you have a rough estimation or idea of how
the
much
amount of
ice
ice,
is in
the amount of
Antarctica?
ice in the Antarctic ice sheet, if melted, would raise global sea level
I'm not
by
asking
200
how
feet.
much. Okay, you keep
Well, you
going.
did ask how much.
You don't answer the question. My question is how much of the ice on the Earth is in Antarctica? I'm not asking you to expound on anything else. I'm trying to limit you to that particular question.
Don't know the answer.
Do you have any idea?
I wouldn't want to speculate in this forum.
Well, would it surprise you if it's as high as 85 to 90%, that that's generally where the estimates are of the total amount of ice on Earth is in Antarctica?
It would not surprise me.
And would it surprise you to know that as global temperatures rise, assuming for the moment that they do, that that actually increases the amount of ice that is collected on Antarctica?
That's not true, sir.
That's not true. Well, I made a trip down to Antarctica and met with National Science Foundation scientists, and they all agreed with global warming, and they emphasized that you're going to have an increase in the amount of ice in Antarctica because of global warming. Now, have you ever studied, I understand you studied climate, but how about meteorology? Have you ever studied meteorology?
I have, and
okay, so you understand that as the temperature
we
gets
have
warmer,
satellite
it can
records.
contain,
Sir,
wait
we
a
have,
second. Please, you've answered my question. I don't want you to orate because I have limited time. If the chair would please permit, as I try to get this point across.
Okay. Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for another 30 seconds.
Do you understand that as temperatures rise, more moisture is contained in the atmosphere, and then that moisture in Antarctica collects on land, and it takes hundreds and hundreds of years for that ice that is deposited on Antarctica to actually ever even reach the shoreline where it touches the oceans, where it can affect, in some way, sea level increases?
We have satellite records clearly documenting a shrinkage of the Antarctic ice sheet and an acceleration of that shrinkage.
I'm sorry, but I don't know where you're getting your information, but the scientific data that I have
National
seen
Snow and Ice Data Center.
Well, okay, I'm talking
National
NASA and others.
Aeronautics and
Okay.
Space Administration.
Well, I've got a NASA base in my district, and apparently they're telling you one thing and me a different thing, but there are plenty of studies that have come out that show that with respect to Antarctica, that the total ice sheet, particularly that above land, is increasing, not decreasing. Now, you can make a different argument if you want to talk about Greenland or the Arctic. But that having been said, thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the indulgence.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks.
So, yeah, Republican thoughts. This is how they think.
You just never know what they're going to say next.
It's almost got to be more difficult to be a Democrat than it is to be a Republican to be a Demo. It's almost got to be more difficult to be a Republican than it is to be a Democrat, because you have to come up with answers that are counterfactual, right? I mean, you've actually got to do your homework to be a Republican, right? I mean, you've got to find a thing that violates the laws of the world, basically, physics and science and everything, to explain your reasoning.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be more easier for them to just say, "Oh, okay, this is what the actual science says," and just go with that?
But I have a snowball in Congress. Look, global warming's fake. See?
Of national attention, and in case we have forgotten, because we keep hearing that 2014 has been the warmest year on record, I asked the chair, you know what this is? It's a snowball, and that's just from outside here. So it's very, very cold out, very unseasonal. So here, Mr. President, catch this.
He has like a Calvin and Hobbes comic where he puts a snowball in the freezer in December, and he goes out and helps Susie Q with it in May or something, and he's see, global warming, bitch. He doesn't say that, but that's the Republican version of the Calvin and Hobbes comic.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what it's supposed to be saying, and I think it's not needlessly provocative, but I don't know what his solution is exactly.
I don't know. Some of the students over here have mentioned that video too, and they're like, "Well, teacher, have you seen that?" I'm like, "Yeah, I saw it." I'm like, "Oh, okay." I think they just think America's a very violent place. I don't think they understand
Well, it's not necessarily wrong, is it?
I don't know. Yeah, basically, but we lived there for 24 years and never got shot, so.
Yeah. You never know.
I don't know. I mean, when you come from a country that doesn't allow private gun ownership, that's an easy comment to take away, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to, I need to try to understand, I guess, more about what that song was trying to say.
I think it was also the video coupled with it, because, like, after he does the shooting, they always take the gun very gingerly offset in the, like, very, like, fancy red velvet, just very careful with it. Which is maybe a metaphor for how we, treat guns in the wake of shootings. The gun sales go up.
Okay. Okay, so kind of like, it's not the gun's fault or something, that kind of thing.
Sure.
I'll rewatch it, but I don't know. It didn't blow me away as an extremely deep thing, but maybe I saw something.
I mean, it was ambitious. Like, he was trying to do something, obviously, and not everybody does that. So.
Yeah. What was I thinking of? I don't know. Like, Ta-Nehisi Coates, for example, is, I think, somebody similar to Childish Gambino in a way.
Why do you say that?
I don't know. Well, they're both black.
Okay, we'll start there.
No, I'm just kidding. But I think sometimes he really, 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 really reaches for something. He's trying to go deep, 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 right? But I don't think he always gets there. Like, I mean, after the latest bullshit from fucking Kanye West, he wrote this story about, like, Kanye's just trying to be white, He's just trying to have the freedom that white people have by defending Trump. But actually, it's really deep. He's going all the way deep. I'm like, no, maybe Kanye is just an idiot. This doesn't have to be like he's a black guy and he's so oppressed that he wanted to be like a white guy who's free to just like a bad politician. It's like, no, maybe Kanye is just jealous that Jay-Z had his Obama, and Kanye is not patient enough to wait for another 48 years to get his presidential endorsement. So he's like, well, he wants to take the next president there is, which is Trump, and he doesn't care about anything else, and he's out of touch enough with his people that, this obviously racist president is, like, appealing to him. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't like the article where Ta-Nehisi Coates was trying to square that circle and say that actually, that Kanye West supporting Trump is actually like a black power statement or something. I'm like, no, it's not. My God.
That's not what I took away from that article, though.
Okay, how did you read it?
Well, I thought he made more comparisons with Michael Jackson, with Kanye West, that I thought was actually interesting.
Well, I thought his comparisons with Michael Jackson were bullshit too, because he was saying, like, about how Michael Jackson wanted to be white. I didn't get that, because Michael Jackson had a skin disease, which I think I have too. I've got, like, white spots on my knees and my legs, my shins. But the thing was, Michael Jackson had that shit on his face. And, like, once your face starts going white, like, I know a girl who's Nigerian from college, and her face started going white too, and her whole body went white. And it's like, the thing is, once your body starts going white like that, if you let parts and, like, splotches of it go white and you don't change the whole thing, I mean, it's going to be weird. I'm a white guy. I've got, like, white spots on my shins and stuff. If I had it on my face and it was, like, affecting part of it, plus I was black, like, I'd be wanting to change the whole thing just for consistency's sake. So I didn't buy the whole thing about how his mom said that, like, Michael Jackson wanted to be white.
Well, he also did what he did to his nose, too, so. And it wasn't just his skin. I mean, he also changed the shape of his face.
Well, the shape of his nose, I mean, I don't know what the thing was in the 1980s or whatever with Hollywood and plastic surgery, but, like, I mean, look at Donatella Versace or something. I mean, like, lots of people have had bad plastic surgery. It doesn't mean they were all trying to, like, alter their racial identity necessarily. I don't know. So the thing where his mom said that Michael Jackson was trying to be white, I didn't buy that, because I've always seen that as kind of like I mean, I've heard that it's something that like people say about Michael Jackson, like in not a good way or something. I don't know. Like as somebody who's had like a skin discoloring disease, like myself, to some degree, to a limited degree, very limited degree. I've never bought the idea that Michael Jackson dyeing his skin white in some way was not a response to a massively affecting disease that was affecting his face, which thank God I haven't had to deal with. But so I didn't, so that seemed like I don't know, the whole, basically that whole Ta-Nehisi Coates article. I used to like Ta-Nehisi Coates. He used to write articles on the Atlantic Wire, the Atlantic, or whatever, and then he'd be in the comment section dealing with people and talking to people personally and stuff. I like that, but I think I don't know. Lately, I think he's just been going. I don't know. It's just been a kind of like a. There's been a level of degree to his writing that I think is extreme, and not in like a reasonable way, but like an extreme way. An extreme.
Well, he advocates for extreme ideas, so I feel like you probably have to be extreme to if you're going to advocate for radical things. He's in favor of reparations, which I'm also in favor of, but it's a radical idea in our society.
Yeah, I think reparations. I mean, there's an argument to be made there, but like this thing about how I don't know. I think there's a he puts an emphasis on race that overrides all socioeconomic status arguments, which I don't fundamentally agree with. I guess you could say, if you read his articles, sometimes it comes across that like a black person born in the upper middle class still has less privilege than a lower class white person.
Well, I can tell you why that is. I mean, there's a causal reason for that, because if you're a black person, even somebody that's born to great wealth or privilege, you get less chance to make mistakes. Like you cannot fall down ever the way a white person could. That's the difference. It's not where you start from, because you can start in a high echelon and be all the way flat on your face in one generation if you're black, more likely, because I don't know. I think you get more chances to make it up. You get more chances to have a do-over, a mulligan, than a white person does.
Well, look at Will Smith's kids. I disagree. I mean, I think I'm more on the Bernie Sanders thing, where it's like I don't know. I think socioeconomic stuff is more transracial. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think we can. Okay, let's say, for example, Dennis Rodman. I mean, how many chances have he had?
But he's famous. I mean, that's different.
Exactly. That's the socioeconomic aspect.
But he doesn't represent most people that are black men.
But that's the point. According to Ta-Nehisi Coates, your socioeconomic status doesn't matter. If you're black, you get one chance and you fucked up and it's over. But if you're a white, trailer trash person, you can have a million chances, and if you go to a job interview, you'll always get a call back or something. And I'm I just don't.
I think that's an extreme characterization of that argument.
Well, I'm extremely drunk right now. But my point is that over the years, I've developed I don't know. I was extremely pro Ta-Nehisi Coates at first, but lately I've kind of come around and seen that especially articles like the one defending Kanye West about how Kanye West's defense of Trump is actually an example of something else, other than what it seems like. I'm no.
Wait, are you still talking about the Ta-Nehisi Coates piece?
Yeah, about Kanye West.
I didn't see that as a defense of Kanye West. Did you?
What did you see it as?
Just an explanation of what he saw going on, I guess.
What I see going on is that Kanye West is pissed off at Barack Obama for calling him a jackass when he was Jay-Z and Beyonce's best friend.
Yeah.
And Kanye, since then, has wanted to have his own presidential best friend. And he realized that Donald Trump is so desperate to have a black friend that he'll take any celebrity, especially, and particularly a black celebrity who's willing to overlook everything he's ever said and ever done. And so it's totally a marriage of convenience for the two of them.
I'll give you that. It's a marriage of convenience. I think it's more about, I think Kanye was serious when he said he's running for president in 2020. And I think seeing Trump, who is also a reality TV star, like him, like his family, becoming president doesn't seem so far-fetched anymore. So I think that also plays into it. It's like his own egomania and seeing, and that's the scarier thing, is not who Trump is. It's more like who's going to come after Trump and use his playbook. Because I guarantee we've just opened the lid on who's going to be the type of person that runs for president going forward.
I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure the Republicans won't switch back to a respectable Republican next time, quote unquote.
We'll see. I would bet the other way.
Well, I mean, Trump may still have a chance in 2020 because his ass hasn't been indicted.
Well, it doesn't mean they won't have some primary challengers.
But it won't be. Trust me, nobody can out-Trump Trump.
Yeah, but what about Johnson in '68? You know, Johnson in '68. I mean, he was an incumbent. He didn't run again.
Well, yeah, he chose not to, but he had some shame.
It's true. I'll give you that.
Donald Trump, the day after he won the nomination, he already registered the Trump 2020 or whatever.
Well, Mike Pence also registered his super PAC right around the same time, too, so he's got his eyes on another prize.
Yeah, but Pence is not going to out-Trump Trump. He's not even going to try. He's going to be the reasonable Republican alternative to Trump.
But that may put him in position down the road.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, Pence is too Christian to be Trump.
Outwardly Christian. He tolerates a lot. I mean, for a guy that won't dine with anyone but mother,
That doesn't make him tolerant.
No, absolutely not. But it does mean that he is willing to overlook certain things if it's convenient. Like he said that, all these things about, during the Clinton scandal, and we can go back and play the tape on so many Republicans from back then, and you look at what he says now with, it's nobody's business and all this, so,
There's been a lot of talk, particularly by Donald Trump, but also sometimes by you, about the accusers in Bill Clinton's past. Right. And I guess my question is, voters are trying to figure this out, and it's really difficult, and you have claims on all sides. Do you think, in fairness, that the Donald Trump accusers and the Bill Clinton accusers, who we saw at the debate the other night that Donald Trump brought, do you think they're all entitled to the same presumption of believability, that they're telling the truth, all of them?
Well, I think we should always take these kind of allegations seriously and respectfully. But in the case of Bill Clinton actually admitted to being involved with a 23-year-old intern at the White House named Monica Lewinsky when he was president. Bill Clinton actually paid a settlement of over $800,000 to one of those women.
Donald Trump has paid
in a very real
settlements.
sense, the claims against Bill Clinton now for decades have been quite well chronicled in books and in history. They've been quite well substantiated. And frankly, those women have gotten scant attention this year or in previous years from many in the mainstream media. So my view is that those claims have largely been established through the record of history. But the people need to know that these unsubstantiated allegations have been completely denied by Donald Trump, and we're simply not going to allow this campaign to be drawn off to defending slander and lies. We're going to focus on the things that will make America great.
It's very convenient that he's changed his...
Giuliani extended interview with Jake Tapper?
Is this where he talked over the playback from years ago, saying that? Yeah.
They tried to get him on the hypocrisy tip because, like, he was like, if they subpoena Bill Clinton, he's got to come in. I mean, you got to come in when the prosecutor, like me, summoned you. You got to come in. He's like, Donald Trump doesn't got to come in for a prosecutor summons, the grand jury. No. It's like, oh, this is so unfair, Jack Tapper. What are you doing?
Why, when asked about that situation in 1998, did you say, President can't duck a subpoena? Well, if you get subpoenaed, you got to comply. You got to go.
He can't. I never heard of a subpoena for the president's person.
Well, you said exactly that.
No.
And you went on to say,
Chris, let's distinguish between a subpoena for documents and a subpoena that takes the president out of the Oval Office and puts him in front of a grand jury or hearing. Can't do it. Can't do it the second. You can do the first.
Well, you never made that distinction before.
Well, it never occurred to me they would try to subpoena the president.
That's exactly what was going on in 1998. But people are going to say I'm making this up. Here's Charlie Rose with you in the interview, and you tell me what you meant.
Come on.
What, you don't want to hear it?
It's not even relevant.
If the president is asked to testify, subpoenaed
That's really unfair. What you're doing right now is extremely unfair.
I'm giving you a chance to explain it.
People don't come on the show.
Not going to do it.
With all that promoting of Avenatti, ambulance.
What happens if Robert Mueller
What does that have to do with this?
Because they're all trying to bring Trump into that, and he's not involved in it, Chris.
Look, Avenatti has been getting fed information that has wound up being more true than not, mostly about Michael Cohen, okay? What he's doing on TV, that's his business and the people who put him on. I'm talking to you about this, and it matters. And I played that piece of sound. It's not my decision who comes on and not on all the time. With people like you, where I chase you around and I ask you very much to come on because I think it matters, that's my call. But he's not my concern, and you know that. What is my concern is I played that piece of sound because I want to give you the benefit to give answers in context. Because otherwise people just beat you over the head with it.
Play it, and it's very explainable.
Well, I did play it. They heard it.
I am talking about a subpoena for documents, which doesn't take you out of your office, rather than a subpoena for your person, which I never contemplated anyone would suggest.
But that's exactly what they were asking Clinton to do.
Yes, but
sit down and answer questions about this.
Clinton was opposing it.
Right, but he eventually wound up sitting, and you say that legally that's because he had to.
If you give me a subpoena and we negotiate terms and you withdraw the subpoena, I have not complied with the subpoena. The subpoena is now dead.
But you wind up in the same place, effectively, which is answering questions under oath.
No problem, but with conditions. Now,
fine.
Because there was lack of clarity after my statement, not just me, God almighty, professors, whatever, the Justice Department wrote an opinion, which we're all bound by if we work for the Justice Department, which is you cannot issue criminal, they call it criminal process.
Right.
You can't issue criminal process to the president. End of story. Can't do it unless you change that opinion. If Mueller did it, the Justice Department could take the subpoena right back.
Or you could just litigate it.
Yeah, but
right? You could subpoena him and you could litigate it.
I'd go right to the Attorney General. I'd say, Jeff, put on big boy pants and you go take it away.
Well, but he's recused from this.
Then I go to Rosenstein and say, you want to try the big boy pants on for size? You put them on and you get rid of the subpoena.
All right,
and he would have to do it or he'd have to quit.
All right, so I hear where you are legally on that. We'll see what happens if that comes to pass.
I just watched a Jake Tapper interview on one of those late night shows, too. Apparently he has a remarkable sense of smell.
Really?
Yeah, he said, I have an uncanny sense of smell. And oh, yeah? And Stephen Colbert's like, what do I have for lunch? He's like, you ate cat food. He's like, what are you talking about? He's like, did you eat tuna? He's like, yeah, I had a tuna sandwich. He's like, how'd you know? He's like, well, I can smell it. And he's like, well, I brushed my teeth and I put on cologne. He's like, yeah, that's not good enough. For people like me and my brother, we have an uncanny sense of smell or something.
By the way, speaking of sense of smell, your character in this, the main character,
Charlie Martyr, yeah.
Charlie Martyr, he's described as having a keen sense of smell.
Yeah.
Now, I understand that you also have a keen sense.
My brother and I both have very keen senses of smell.
Like documented or just like...
we haven't gone to the Smith Center of Olfactory Gifts, if that's what you're referring to.
Is that a real place?
No.
Another lie.
It's a fiction.
Another lie. Yes.
But we do have a really good sense of smell, and I have to tell you, it's a curse. It's a curse.
How so?
Well, first of all, America, you need a mint. All of you.
How do I smell right now?
Did you have cat food for lunch? What did you have for lunch? Did you have, honestly...
Frisky buffet.
No, honestly, did you have tuna for lunch?
I did.
Yeah.
But I've brushed my teeth and everything since then and put on deodorant.
Which would be perfect for normal people. But
you have a superpower.
I have a superpower. And as I said, it is a curse.
Wow.
Whiskers.
Okay.
It is relevant to the plot, though, I should point out. His sense of smell becomes relevant to the plot.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. Is there a gas leak or something?
I'm not spoiling it for anybody.
Of course.
That's interesting.
But yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
But apparently he has that. Those people freak me out. People who can smell things.
Ash can smell really well.
Ability.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's kind of superhuman with
Keep
it.
that in mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's allergic to a lot of stuff, though, so I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but a lot of things are set her spidey senses off.
Yeah. Well, I know you read the Between the World and Me, right?
I did. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I read the one after that too. We Were 8 Years in Power.
Okay. Okay, with Ta-Nehisi Coates, I have a very complex relationship with him because I don't buy into the criticism of him that he was too blinded by Barack Obama's, centrist, neoconservative or neoliberal, liberal version or whatever of power, that he didn't see his negative sides. I don't like. There's the radical left wing critique that people were blinded by Barack Obama's skin color and they didn't see that he was actually conservative disguised. I don't buy into that exactly. I think.
I don't even think that's necessarily what I remember Ta-Nehisi Coates saying about Barack Obama. What I remember him saying is that he was able to navigate a very tricky situation racially by believing in the fundamental goodness of white people because he did not grow up in, he spent most of his childhood outside of the United States, and the only white people he came into contact with, like his mom, his grandparents, were all positive influences on him. So, and then you have Ta-Nehisi Coates growing up in Baltimore, son of a Black Panther, one of 10 children, you know what I mean? Like, he has a very different view of the world because he came up, differently, but they were both young black men, but two very different situations and two very different experiences of what that means in, America and your family and everything. So, basically his argument was that because Barack Obama did not have that upbringing where he, fundamentally distrusted white people because, this, that, and the third of all the institutional reasons you can come up with all around him, that he was able to thread that needle in a way that somebody else wouldn't. So he got to be black, but also got to say, I believe in you, and I'm not here to judge you. I think that's a positive reading of Barack Obama, but I don't think that's excusing everything. I think he was just commenting on the fact that this guy was able to make this work for this reason,
Well, let's not forget, Barack Obama is half white.
It's true.
He identified as black, and that's, his choice, of course. Ever since, the 1/8 rule or whatever, the Octoon or whatever that play was.
One drop rule, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, that's his option. But I'm just saying, I don't know. It's, identity and choice and politics and left, right, and, neoliberal versus the, whatever the new left is or whatever, the dirty left or whatever. But, you got people like Jimmy Dore on TYT, which is almost made me stop watching TYT at this point, actually, which is, it's a controversial statement to make because most of the people who comment on TYT videos anymore are people who are like, Jimmy's right, Cenk's an asshole, oh, you're all so wrong, Jimmy's the only reason I still watch it and stuff. But Jimmy's he's an idiot. I'm sorry. I used to be Jimmy's biggest fan, but after the election, he came down with a severe case of Hillary Clinton derangement syndrome. And I don't fucking like Hillary Clinton either. But this guy, it extended from Hillary Clinton to Barack Obama. It's okay, Jimmy Dore, you run for president, you win, you be elected president, and you see how much you can get done with your uncompromising attitude. Mm-hmm. You won't get much done. And believe it or not, your legacy depends on you getting something done. And, Barack Obama's not perfect, you know. He's gonna chortle at this point. Not perfect. I'd go a bit farther than that. It's like, yeah, okay, whatever. But like, I mean, you know, he was working within the context that he had to, you know, which is what every president has to do. And like, you're not going to find like, you know, I don't know. So my point is that like there are critiques of Ta-Nehisi Coates that blame him. Like I think, for example, what's his name? What's the guy's name with the crazy hair?
Cornel West.
Yeah. Okay, Cornel West had a critique of Ta-Nehisi Coates, which, while I thought was intriguing, you know, their debate with each other, I was more on Ta-Nehisi Coates' side. Like, I don't think that what Cornel West came at him with was quite fair. You know.
Yeah, I thought it was a little harsh.
It was over the top. It was extreme, and frankly, the fact that a younger black man has a certain respect for Barack Obama, who, let's be real, Barack Obama broke all kinds of historical, you know, barriers. You know, you can't, like, I don't know. There were some things that Cornel West said that I agreed with, but the overall gist of his argument that, you know, that Ta-Nehisi Coates was kind of a sellout for shilling for Obama or whatever, I could not get on board with that. I didn't buy that. So, so my to the degree that I have any critique of Ta-Nehisi Coates, it's, you know, very nuanced. And I'm not willing to jump on anybody's bandwagon who wants to slag on him or whatever. But I think there is a critique to be made, though.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely views everything through a certain lens, and, you know, it's pretty singularly focused, so, you know, but I don't think he's wrong a lot of the time.
I don't know. I just like, I mean, his thing about, like, I mean, I would have to read something, have read something of him within the last month to, like, really zero in on something. And I think the last thing I read was his Kanye defense, which was probably over a month ago. I don't know, but like, I mean, I don't know. Like, I mean, in Mitchell, Indiana, we knew lots of white people who, you know, were not, you know, these are people who went from McDonald's to Walmart and got fired from both places. I mean, like, these are not people. I'm not, you know, like, I'm just saying, like, it's not like this picnic out here for all the white people in the world where, you know, the job will always call you back and, like, you know, this or that or whatever. It's like, I mean, these were people who had no intention of ever going to college. That was just not even a consideration of theirs, you know?
Yeah.
So it's...
But that population of people wants that to still be true. They want to still be able to not go to college and still make a living wage and feel like they, like, earned it, even though they didn't.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know that's even making a living wage. What is that? I don't think that is even a concept to them. You know, to these people, you work a bullshit job, and maybe you make some money, maybe you don't. But, you know, I mean, I don't think there's any more concept of a living wage than there is in the, you know, the ghettoist ghetto or whatever, you know. Like, I just don't think there's a racial element to it. I think there's a class element that is overlooked by people like Ta-Nehisi Coates who want to define everything through a certain prism, so to speak.
Sure. But I think when you're ghettoized and you're separated from the rest of society and not given the same chances over and over, generation after generation, that does sort of reinforce that you're down here and you're going to stay down here. You know what I mean? Because what else are you going to do?
But my point is, it's not even a ghetto thing. It's like there's people in Mitchell, Indiana like that. I mean, they're, you know...
True, but there was redlining, there's segregation, there's institutional discrimination, it's laws, you know, all that stuff that has lasting consequences, I think.
Okay, but redlining is a city thing, basically, right?
Yeah, and most people live in cities.
We're talking about Mitchell, Indiana, though.
I guarantee there was redlining in Mitchell, Indiana. I will find the WPA map or whatever. I bet it was along the railroad track too.
But like I'm saying, like there's a lot of people that we knew and we went to school with who their people didn't go to the universities. They had no expectation of going to universities. They had an expectation of working at little bullshit jobs like Walmart or McDonald's for the rest of their lives and specking out a living that way. And it wasn't like, you know, they expected that they were going to get a decent living, you know.
Well, I think that has more to do with, like, you just not expecting much else from your life.
But I'm saying that I think that's a large... I think that's a part of the argument that Ta-Nehisi Coates is making, is that, like, there's some people, like, they don't have expectations and stuff because society has told us there is no expectation, and that's a function of race. And that may be true, but I think to say that there's no white people that have the same...
I don't think he's saying there's no white people. I'm just saying that you roll the dice 100 times, and one side's going to come out slightly ahead than the other, and that adds up. I think that is...
I'm talking about sides. I'm talking about individual outcomes.
Well, I'm talking about individual outcomes, too. I mean, if you just put a black-sounding name on a resume that's identical to a white-sounding name, the person with the white-sounding name gets called back, like, several times more likely to. Those are the small things that add up. I'm not saying that one thing is going to hold someone down. If you're good enough, you'll get through somehow, probably. You know what I'm saying? But, like, that kind of thing, the odds are stacked against you is all I'm saying.
But I'm saying, like, having a quote-unquote black-sounding name was not even a thing in Mitchell, Indiana. It's like, there were some black people in Mitchell, Indiana, but, like, I don't know. Like, I'm just saying, like, I mean... You know, we can't compare Mitchell, Indiana to a major metropolitan area.
Right, but like, more people live in a major metropolitan area than live in a place like Mitchell, Indiana.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, I mean, like, you know, like, to name names or something, like Jeremy Brashears, you know, a star athlete at our school or something, a black guy, is going to get a job at the upper scale place more than a Jeremy Lewis, perhaps, a white guy who had no aspirations for college or anything like that, really. I mean, like, I don't know. It's just, I'm just saying it comes down to class more than race in some cases. And
I think it's both. I don't think we necessarily disagree. I just think that you think it's either or, and I think it's both. But I think one is kind of a function of the other, and the reason that we have it's all divisions from above to keep people fighting, basically, to not let them look up and see who's controlling them, you know. So that's really what it all boils down to. But
yeah, I don't know, but I'm just saying, like, there have been articles I've read of Ta-Nehisi Coates where he boils it down to one thing and he doesn't acknowledge the other thing, or he pays lip service to the other thing, but he doesn't actually acknowledge it, really. And I'm just saying, like, my lived experience in a place like a small town is that I don't know. I'm too drunk to make a coherent argument, really. I don't have the articles that I would want to cite on tap here, so to speak, but
no, I think one poignant essay from Ta-Nehisi Coates is The First White President. If you've read that one, it's about Trump. You should read that one.
I read that one.
Yeah, that's a pretty.
Yeah. And I guess, I mean, from what I can recall, the point was not that Trump was the first white president, but he's the first president who was, you know, identifying as white and running on white identity politics, per se, and, you know.
And if people weren't excited by that, they were at least willing to overlook it for whatever reason. So.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I used to be a huge Ta-Nehisi Coates fan. I thought he was, like, one of the best things happening at the Atlantic, but I've a little bit soured on him because some of the articles were just, you know, I don't know. I would have to I tell you what, we're going to have to re-record this because we're going to have to do some readings of his backlog to come up to be able to cite examples of exactly what he's saying and stuff, and what exactly the critique might be or whatever. But
no, I'm a fan. I also have criticisms, but I think he's a great writer. I think his fame is well deserved. I think all the comparisons to James Baldwin are apt.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I think there's underclasses in society in America that, Baltimore is a pretty big city. New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, these are all big cities. I don't think that Ta-Nehisi Coates has any idea what's going on in a place like Mitchell, Indiana, necessarily. Like, not that Mitchell is like, the bellwether for that type of city, but it's a city that is, to the degree that it's overlooked by places. I mean, like, I think we got our first mention in the New York Times or whatever ever when we had the huge fire there a few weeks ago, a month ago, in the what do you call it? The
wood chipping plant, yeah.
Wood chipping plant, which is like out there by my mom's place. But I asked my mom about it, and she said, "Well, I guess the wind is blowing north, but we're south of that, so we didn't get much of it at all." I got a crazy ass time right now because my former boss got fired. My new boss is incompetent, and I've been at this job for 6 years, working my ass off. But like, apparently that doesn't count for much anymore. So,
yeah.
So I'm in a dicey situation.
Yeah, I probably need to find something else, huh?
Yeah, I may have a job offer from one of the higher ups of the company who wants to hire me to his branch, but like, I don't know, man. I've been living here and working here for six and a half years, and it's like, I don't know, it's bullshit.
But you'd still be in Korea though if you worked somewhere else, right?
Yeah, but it
wouldn't be that different.
Well, to the degree that I have people I know in this area, that I know the restaurants, that I know the places, that I've got it scheduled down.
Would you have to move?
Yeah, I'd have to move like an hour north and west of here. I'd still be outside of Seoul, and I'd be a little bit farther outside of Seoul. It's a whole new town. And I don't know. Like, I know my area really well.
It's understandable.
I don't know. It doesn't get me any closer to stability.
No. What would get you closer to stability? Starting your own school?
Yeah, I'm not going to do that.
Small business owner.
Yeah, I'm thinking about starting a joke T-shirt factory company or something.
Yeah, Ash and I were thinking about doing the same thing, actually.
Yeah, because I've got jokes every day in class. I tell jokes that like Korean English jokes or something, Konglish jokes. It's like okay, like I had the expression. I was teaching a guy the expression the other day, a businessman. I was teaching him hammer out the details as an expression, right? An idiom or whatever, almost. And I said, and he wasn't getting it. He's like, hammer? But in Korean, hamul means seafood. So I said, like, why do the two Korean businessmen go to the seafood restaurant for their second meeting? And I don't know. Oh, because they wanted to hamul out the details. Because hamul means seafood, but hammer out the details, like, the second meeting you hammer out the details or something. So that's like my joke. But obviously these are extremely niche T-shirts because they require a knowledge of English expressions,
right,
and as well as Konglish pronunciation.
This is a very limited T-shirt market I think you're working with.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to think. What are some? I've had some pretty good jokes. Like, I've really laughed at my jokes. I think they're stupid. They're like a bunch of puns and stuff, but like they're pretty good. A lot of them wind up on Facebook. So
yeah, I read a lot of them. Sure.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of some of the other good ones. There's a lot of them I haven't published yet because they're like somewhat sexual or something or ridiculous. But I don't know though. If you think about it, like I'm trying to think of a way where I could like do these shirts and send them. I mean, like a T-shirt company seems like a thing where you could set it up and you wouldn't have to have like a warehouse or a storefront.
Yeah, you set it and forget it. That's what I'm about. Yeah.
And just like send the T-shirt when somebody orders one.
Just on demand.
More money.
Yeah. That's the way to do it. That ain't working.
Yep, I need to develop some more passive income streams.
Mm-hmm. Well, look up Shopify and look up Cafe Press. I think those are two businesses that can do what you're talking about.
Okay, Cafe Caress?
Cafe Press.
Oh, Press.
Yeah, and Shopify would be like the online store. And they have like free trials and stuff.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean by like a free trial? What do you mean by that?
I mean, they don't charge you anything to set the store up or sell things on it.
Okay. I'll have to find a T-shirt printer in Korea or something where I could start doing.
Yeah, you might have to find a good one for Korea.
Maybe find a Korean business partner to have the business in their name, but like work out something where, whatever.
Well, give us one more good joke before we go, Sha.
Okay, hold on one second. Let me hold on. Let me get out my notebook because I write down my good jokes in my notebook.
Okay.
We've definitely had a few recently that were popular. Yeah, we may have to record possibly tomorrow during the daytime or something because I realize I'm extremely drunk. I wasn't intending to drink soju, but I got pressured to drink soju tonight, which is not usually I stick to the beer and I stay reasonably sober, but today was an exceptional case.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I'm flipping through my papers now. Okay, I was teaching elementary school kids, okay, and one of them said, they said they were looking at a picture in the textbook, and they said, the girl in the picture looks like Tata's girlfriend. And one of the other kids said, did you see Tata? And I said, Korean movie about gambling and criminals? Yeah, I saw it. And they say, no, teacher, Dancha or something. It's like different pronunciation. Never mind. Because the movie I saw was definitely rated R. Sex, prostitution, drugs, etc. But I don't know what they were actually talking about, but they misled me. Other things. Hold on, I'm still flipping here. Oh, okay, one of my business women said, let's see, what did she say? We got ethics training once a year from an Indian lawyer who was hired after a humongous ethics violation at the Indian branch of our company. I said, so you all learned how not to accept bribes and stuff? And she said, no, none of us could understand his accent. So we kind of got the blind leading the blind. The Indian branch got pinged, and they tried to teach Korean not to do corruption, but Koreans couldn't understand them. So corruption continues unabated, I'm sure. So that was fun. Still flipping. Oh, one of my students one time said he died of premature ejaculation. I said, that can't possibly be true. They said, oh, never mind, manic depression.
Why would you confuse the two?
Medical conditions, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, there was another joke. Okay, so let's see. I was talking about senility, or something, and senile, right, as a disease, and the students were confused. What was that? And so I looked at it in the Korean, and I taught them the word in Korean, too. And then I made a joke. Let's see. Okay, so they said, so I said, like, why did the elderly people go to Egypt for vacation? I said, I don't know why. I said, because they wanted to senile. Get it?
Oh yeah.
See the Nile River.
Oh yeah.
Senility.
It's not just not just a river in Egypt.
That's right. When we were talking about giving way, when police or ambulance tries to pass you, you have to give way, right? To yield, basically, right?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And so I was asking, do you give way when the ambulance is coming? And one guy said, I try to give way to an ambulance because I think that they have patience. I said, actually, they don't.
If you enjoy this podcast, there are several ways to support it. Join the Rob Burgess Show mailing list. Go to tinyletter.com/The Rob Burgess Show and type in your email address. Then respond to the automatic message. I have a Patreon account, which can be found at patreon.com/Rob Burgess Show Patreon. I hope you'll consider supporting in any amount. Also, please make sure to comment, follow, like, subscribe, share, rate, and review everywhere the podcast is available, including iTunes, YouTube, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play Music, Facebook, Twitter, Internet Archive, TuneIn, and RSS. The official website for the podcast is www.therobburgessshow.com. You can find out more about me by visiting my website, www.thisburgess.com. And if you have something to say, record a voice memo on your smartphone and send it to therobburgessshow@gmail.com. Include voice memo in the subject line of the email. Until next time.